Hello, welcome back to AJM Learned. So hopefully if you're new to Squarespace banner slideshows, you watched the previous video in this post, which just walks you through basic settings. So I will talk about this one in a little bit more of an advanced way. So we're already kind of in a good place. I have two different banner slideshow styles that I want to show you how to set up. They're both kind of incomplete, so we can do some tweaking together. This first one, I think, is a good way to do. In the next video, I'll show you specifically how to create a testimonial slider. But I did have one client who wanted not even testimonials, but they just wanted, I don't know, more content like in their hero image, which was really hard because I'm like, this is not legible. How do I do this? So let's turn on the title, the description, the button, everything's on. So let's go into design. Let's play around with this a bit. So I think everything here is fine. So keep that. Okay, so we're doing most of our stuff in styling. You'll see I have the card feature turned on. It makes it way more legible, of course, when you have a bunch of text. I like to go into the text size and really specifically change this. I think with a lot of text, this can get really, really overwhelming. So make sure you're tweaking that text size for what works for how much text you're going to have. One thing that is always, I think the thing I actually style the most is the arrows. Again, in my previous video, I walked through this a lot more, but figuring out where they're at. Are they on the sides? I tend to like them on the bottom. You can, of course, put them left, right, center, depending on what's going on above, all of that. So, and then how much space you want between these elements. Back to size and space. So with the padding, I tend to, I just play around with this. You can totally tweak it. This is really about looks for me. Minimum slide height. For this, I'll keep large. Slide content width. I tend to kind of manually do this too, depending on where my arrows are or how much content I have. Maybe something like that. Space between elements. Right this second, I'm not sure what's going on with the button spacing. Is not ideal. Trying to see. Yeah, so there's an extra space here. So just look out for that. Yeah. So let me go back in here. So I tend to do spacing between elements as small. This seems crazy to me. I don't know who would use that. No offense if you love it. And then playing around with the vertical positioning. For this one, tend to do, it's actually aligned to the bottom, mostly just because I like it to be a little closer to the arrows. You can always play around with if you wanted this over to the left a bit, which I do actually quite often, in which case I would then move my arrows to the left, right below it, or to the right and play around with the spacing between these here. So let's keep these to the left for now. Okay, cool. So looking okay, but this is so white. It's just big white card. So I went in this in the last video, but annoyingly you have to go into site styles and go into, so I'm working on dark one. You manually really have to scroll here to get all of the options. When you click on it, it doesn't really give you everything, especially the card. So the card background on this, I would lean toward, just making it a slightly more transparent white. It totally depends on what kind of images you're going to have in the background. Another option is if you want to flip your colors around, this card could be a slightly transparent black or dark gray or a color, and the text on top could be white. So you can always play around with those settings. So yeah, I think something like this works really nicely. And for this one, I would personally, again, you can always play around with the spacing. I know sometimes I like to, have the card further down. Right now you can't really see the arrows above the fold. See the bottom of the post. I've linked to a really great tutorial from someone else who shows you how to auto scroll. But yeah, looking pretty good. The font's super legible. Super clear, and the images are you're still getting a pretty good idea of what's on the page. So that's one way. The second way I style a lot is something similar to this. So I'll quickly show you the settings I have here. I've already kind of styled this one, but I like to push the font all the way. Give it to me. Come here. I like to push the text over to the left. So we're seeing a lot more image. We have the arrows here, which we can, of course, style to make them more legible, but I'll show you how else to make those more legible. I like to keep them really minimalistic while, of course, not hiding them. But yeah, I like this whole left justified idea. So basically here for the styling, we don't have the card on. You can, of course, adjust text size. I'm not using a description here. So this would be kind of a styling for, maybe without a description, or maybe you could play around with it otherwise. Again, arrows are on the bottom, but to the right. That's how the spacing looks. And let's go in size and space. So a lot of this is similar to before: slide padding, slide height, content width. This is where I'm telling it to be only 63% width. So it's taking up just less space over to the right, giving more, more emphasis on the photo. Vertical position to the bottom, horizontal position to the left. So pretty simple. You could move it to the center. That also looks super nice. Totally your call there. So this one's looking really nice, except for one thing, which this is later in the post, but styling with CSS. One thing, excuse all my existing CSS over here. I think I have this on my pasteboard. Yep. Is in the post, I show you how to add an overlay to all the photos on your slider, because it's just not legible, and it's really a pain to have to Photoshop every single photo you're going to put in the slider. And as of now, there's no way to apply an overlay to a slider. So you can do it using the CSS I just dropped in. You'll see that in the post. You can adjust the opacity here, just depending on what you're looking for. And it applies to all of them. So that's a really cool feature. And then lastly, I'll show you in the next videos too about how to adjust some styles on mobile so they're not so crazy big. Also in the post is how to, maybe just make this font smaller on mobile. Okay, cool. Hope you enjoyed those 2 ways to style a banner slideshow.